First of all, I wanted to thank everyone for coming. It's really terrific. What a great turnout. Sam would have loved this. This is, exactly the kind of party he really would have wanted, with all his favorite people and great food and drinks, and I'm just thrilled that you could all make it. And so I just wanted to say a few brief things. Sam was my guiding light. He was my Boy Scout. He even had his own code of conduct, right down to thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. Well, maybe not always so reverent. In 1968, a year of great racial turmoil in Alabama and elsewhere, of course, in the country, Sam is a senior at Auburn University and chairman of the Auburn Conference on International Affairs, thought it would be a great event to have Senator Mark Hatfield, a Republican, and American civil rights leader and president of the National Urban League, Whitney Young, to speak at his event. When he ran it by the Auburn University president, he was flatly refused, being told that we've never had a black, he used another word, speaker on campus, and we never would. Sam, in his usual determined way, threatened and cajoled until, yes, Whitney Young was the first black speaker on the Auburn University campus.
Wow.
In another example of Sam always doing the right thing, in 1993 at City University, being the head of HR for all of the colleges and universities, Sam chaired a committee to evaluate extending health benefits to domestic partners. When it was shown to actually save the university money, it became a policy. A year later, I came into the picture. In January 1995, Sam and I went down into the bowels of New York City Hall to register as domestic partners. This was not a part of the Marriage License Bureau at that time. We were number 684, I remember. And when we came outside, we had a Polaroid picture taken, and we each went off to work on our respective subways, and that was the end of that. It wasn't until 2012 that we were legally married. So when people said to me in later years, what good care I took of Sam, let it be known that it was Sam who always took care of me. Thank you. Now, I like Amanda. Amanda Anderson, Sam's niece, are Bob, my brother-in-law couldn't make it today. His back is really acting up. And so Amanda's going to say some words that Bob wrote. Do you need the slide, or can you read it from your phone?
I'm good for this. So imagine me as an 85-year-old athletically trimmed man, blue, white, and red check button-down shirt and blue pants, and a slight Alabama accent. My brother Sam was 6.5 years younger and 7 years behind me in school. We grew up in different eras with few common interests. Until I left for college, Sam was just a pesky, meddlesome little brother. But Sam's preferences were always clear. When Sam was 5, my allergy was attributed to our dog, Mac. When told Mac is to be given to friends, Sam replied, "Can't we give Bobby away?" In first grade, Sam's class was playing store. Sam ordered a birthday cake mix and was offered angel food. He replied, "It's for my brother. I need devil's food." In 1965, when Ann and I married, Sam was a sophomore at Auburn, a groomsman at our wedding, and for the first time, a participant in our life. Sam and I inherited different traits. We both inherited Daddy's hot temper and commitment to doing what is right. Only Sam inherited Mother's musical talent. He was a clarinetist in the Auburn band. He liked to tell about the dissonance he endured sitting between Mother and Daddy at church. Daddy sang with gusto, but off key, while Mother sang with near perfect pitch. In Sam's senior year of Auburn, he was in charge of the annual conference of international affairs. His leadership in academics brought many honors, including Omicron Delta Kappa men's honorary fraternity and Auburn Spades, 10 men who were in the creme de la creme of campus luminaries. He went from Auburn to Ohio State for master's and to Syracuse for a PhD with a side of snow. In 1977, President Carter appointed Sam's major professor, Scotty Campbell, to head up the Office of Personnel Management. Scotty took Sam to Washington to direct executive training. I traveled to Washington 2 or 3 times a month and met Sam for dinner. We dined on exotic cuisine and shared experiences of leaders of bureaucratic governmental and corporate organizations. In 1981, Ann and our 3 kids and I visited Sam in Washington. These were good times. In 1981, after we moved to Germany, Sam was replaced by President Reagan and moved to Tallahassee to work for the state of Florida. Sam's move was providential. Our mother suffered with metastatic breast cancer and needed constant care. In late 1982, Daddy died, having put off a coronary bypass to care for Mother. Sam stepped in and arranged caregivers for Mother. Mother would start to feel better, dismiss each one after a while. Sam would patiently return, arrange for more caregivers, and the cycle would repeat. Mother died while we were vacationing, and Sam, with the help of my German secretary, got word to us in Rome on the day of the funeral. We returned to Wilmington, Delaware, and Sam became personnel director at City University of New York. We were happy to be near each other and visit one another. Even after we moved to Chattanooga, we still saw Sam and David when visiting Wilmington, either at our son's home or at Sam and David's home in Upper Black Eddy, or at their store in Frenchtown, where Sam was now a shipping clerk and CFO. We were fortunate to have Sam and David visit Chattanooga from West Palm Beach. They invited us to West Palm Beach, and we're sorry we did not go. My brother Sam was ever the responsible person who always sought to do the right thing. He had integrity and the courage of his convictions. He was a bright light, and we will miss him.
Thank you.
I had a few words. I hope I can get through. It was difficult putting my remarks together, which anecdotes to share, which ones best illustrated what he meant to me, how he shaped my life. And then I remembered how he would enthusiastically encourage me to be brief when I regaled him with my tales of adolescence and young adult life. Brevity being the soul of wit and mind, I started sculpting. As a small child, he was a magical, mystical adult who spent time traipsing around a creek and its muddy clay banks with me, hunting crayfish. He gave us the coolest gifts, a teddy bear about the size of me, the very first Atari. And he even taught me a word a day when we were together. Do you know how ubiquitous the word persnickety is? Not very. He lived in exotic Washington, D.C., and it was pretty cool to tell my friends I was going to D.C. to see my Uncle Sam. As a young feral adult, he gifted me with a week stay with him in New York for both my high school and college graduations. While he was at work, I navigated the city, visiting museums like the Met, MoMA, and Barney's, seeing Broadway matinees, exploring Central Park, and people watching. He introduced me to Off-Broadway, the opera, took me to eat at the Four Seasons, and to have drinks at the Windows on the World, where he stuffed himself in a size too small jacket just to give me the chance to go in there, an act that was even more poignant after 9/11. Like with my dad's business trips, Sam's visits to New Orleans always included conversations over meals at fabulous places I, as a starving college student or young worker, would not normally go, as well as places around the corner from my house. He was a sage and generous adult that I could only dream of being. As the youthful scales fell from my eyes, I began to see him for the complex, fully human man he was. Within those complexities were more life lessons. Throughout my life, he emboldened me to pursue my passions. If he knew someone who could advise me or help me, he connected us. He widened my horizons, shifted my perspective, and modeled living an authentic life. Now that he has gone into the mystical, I see that he wanted to be for me the person that he needed in his life. I aspire to be the aunt to my nieces and nephews that he was as an uncle to me, as a small child and young adult. A beacon of unconditional love and acceptance, guiding them to live their full, authentic lives, and bonding over a good meal accompanied by witty stories.
Judith Turkel is somewhere. Here she comes.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to try my best to get through this. I'm really honored to have been asked to be one of Sam's friends and family to speak today. So forgive me if I read a little bit. I met Sam in the mid-1980s when his lover Joseph was dying from complications of AIDS. Sam needed a lawyer and hired me to help him navigate conflict with Joseph's family and to settle his estate. I learned then that Sam was fierce and a determined advocate. We became friends. At the time, Sam had a home in the Poconos, and so did my partner Jennifer and I. One summer Friday, Sam and I arranged to take the day off from work and head to the country together. He picked me up in his big, remember his Oldsmobile? Who remembers Sam's Oldsmobile? That big ass car. It was like no air conditioning, but it was like sitting on a couch, and you would ride in it, and you'd be like, ooh, like this. So he was driving, and we were, chatting, and Jennifer was going to meet us later that night, and we had this magical day of just talking the whole way. The car was rocking and rolling, country roads, highways. And there was this feeling of intimacy and sharing. And I remember how well he listened, how insightful he was, and how special it was to have an entire day together. Sometime in the early 1990s, I connected Sam with some friends who were interested in addressing workplace discrimination. This was decades before DEI or any variations of it, which of course now are gone, but decades before that was discussed. Sam drafted a proposal for launching a project intended to provide gay people equality in employment, as well as safe and accepting work environments. I believe that the work that Sam did planted the seeds that built a movement towards equality in the workplace for all. Sam later joined the boards of Gay Men's Health Crisis and Hedrick Martin Institute, bringing his considerable skills developed over many years working in both government and educational institutions. His natural leadership helped guide these two important organizations as they addressed the urgent needs of people with HIV/AIDS and LGBT youth. He was a valued and respected board member of both organizations. Sam's world grew considerably brighter and more joyful after he and David got together in 1994. Seeing the happiness, I'll have to make it up, hold on. Seeing the happiness that he felt being with David, that David brought to Sam, we welcomed him, of course, with open arms. We celebrated birthdays together, spent weekends at their home in Bucks County, often spending way too much money at the studio, their beautiful store, or at our homes, Jennifer's and my home in New York City and the Catskills. They tolerated our crazy terriers, one of whom was named after Sam, Oscar Samuel Thigpen. And our dogs would jump in, they'd be sleeping on a narrow bed or the couch or whatever in the city, and the dogs would jump on them early in the morning and they sweetly would say, "Oh, it was so nice." And it was kind of early. So with love as a foundation, we supported each other through health crises, work dramas, tragic losses of friends and family members, including our beloved cats and dogs. For our trip to South Africa in 2006, Sam created spreadsheets. He did an analysis of all the tour companies that were possible, safari camps, vineyards, and more. He consulted with the three of us, of course, but he led the way in planning that trip. Two of my most profound memories of that trip are arriving at our first safari camp. And as we looked out and they handed us an iced tea, there was a giraffe just walking in the horizon. I burst into tears because, and Sam said, "Are you okay?" And I knew that he knew that I was just overwhelmed. There was a giraffe and we were in Africa. That was Sam. The next day, while we were out on an excursion with a tracker and the tracker spotted, I think it was a lion. Jennifer said it was something else, but I'm gonna go with lion. Maybe David remembers. And this tracker said, "There's a lion at 11 o'clock, meaning that direction." And Jennifer and Sam and David all saw the lion, and I'm like, "Where? Where is the lion?" And they're like, "Over there, Judith, 11 o'clock. Where? I don't see it." Now, if you've ever been on a safari, the first thing they tell you is never put your hand outside the frame of the truck, ever, and do not stand up. So I'm going, "Guys, where is it? I don't see it." And Sam goes, "Judith, it's over there." And in my memory, this may or may not be true, but I'm gonna go with it. The lion roared, and our vehicle went away. But to me, that was Sam risking his life, our lives, and the lion's life by making sure that I could see the lion too. In 2012, our dear friend Rosalind Richter, then an appellate judge in New York, married Sam and David, as David mentioned. And we got to be there in her chambers for that. And we were the witnesses. They did not need to be married to show their commitment to one another or their love, but they wanted the protections that marriage then, maybe not so much longer, offered. They were perfect together, and we later celebrated, of course, at a fancy French restaurant in Soho. From the beginning, my partner Jennifer and Sam bonded over coming from what was, at least in New York City in those days, considered other cultures. Jennifer from Appalachia and Sam from the Deep South. Jennifer reminded me earlier this week that the first time she met him, she said if she were ever going to marry a man, it would be Sam. And I said, "Why?" And she said, "Because he could hang curtains, he could install a bathroom, he could split wood, he was a fantastic cook." It was sweet. Dave will probably agree. It was sweet to see how the two of them connected and bonded over their different cultures. And Jennifer said that it was the ways in which he was so all-encompassing, his domestic life, and he brought the same balance to everything that he did. Served on boards, was a volunteer, especially in literacy, and I worked later. I'm going to end with just a few lines from a beautiful poem, "When Great Trees Fall" by Maya Angelou. "And when great souls die, after a period, peace blooms, slowly and always irregularly. Spaces fit with a kind of soothing electric vibration. Our senses restored, never to be the same, whispered to us, they existed. We can be and be better, for they existed."
Jane Dillon is standing in for our friend Doris Hauser, who's taken ill and could not fly from Washington to Palm Beach. So Jane is...
I mean, would you like?
Oh, sure.
Well, it's my honor to be able to stand in for Sam's dear friend. I am from Washington as well, which is the only qualification that I have to be there.
And a great speaking voice.
Oh, thank you. So I'm reading her words, and Doris was a great friend of Sam's and David. So it begins, "In the summer of 1977, the Civil Rights Commission was buzzing about its new leadership, especially the gorgeous guy named Sam Phillips, who was executive assistant to the commission chair, Scotty Campbell. I was a career employee, new to government and in a mid-level job, watching this happen. After Jimmy Carter succeeded in getting the Civil Rights Reform Act of 1978 passed, I got to work with Sam, which included creating the Office of Personnel Management. Sam did some groundbreaking work, human resource work and management at OPM by creating the selection and executive development programs for the new senior executive service. He continued advancing HR practice in all the posts he held and always wanted to hear about similar efforts I was making in my work with OPM and the National Academy for Public Administration. So this is a Washington woman. Sam and I hit it off right away and did many fun things together, including many concerts, ballets, and plays at the Kennedy Center. In later years in New York and West Palm Beach, we went to more events, from international ballet galas at the Met to preseason Major League Baseball games in Florida. We would come from Tallahassee and Washington to meet at the Metropolitan Opera matinees. One very special event in New York was the celebration of Sam's 50th birthday. It was held in a beautiful apartment with a spectacular view looking up Fifth Avenue. I still have the party favor. The event was even more special because it was where I met David, who was a charming and impressive gentleman. Most noteworthy was the light he brought into Sam's life. Speaking of meeting people for the first time, I remember an afternoon at the Katzbahn Ballet Intensive, where Sam's daughter, KL, was performing. I had heard many stories about her. I'd never seen her and was astonished when I scanned a group of young ballerinas and saw Sam's face on a particularly lovely dancer. The eyebrows and smile were unmistakable, and Sam was enormously proud of her. My mother's death brought new dimension to my relationship with Sam and David. For years, I traveled with her to both the Stratford Shakespearean and Shaw festivals in Ontario, Canada. The year after she died, I suggested Sam join me. He did, and loved the plays, the performers, and all the venues in Stratford and Niagara-on-the-Lake. David also enjoyed them. David and I will be making our plans for this summer for 2025. One of the joys of knowing Sam and David all these years has been the enjoyment I get from seeing them create their beautiful homes. Each has a special feature, but I think the farm on Lonely Cottage Drive had some particularly notable attractions and memories. For one thing, the farm succeeded in cementing Sam's status as a true cat person. There was the studio, and it meant so much to them both. The transformation of the barn was truly magical. And if I had to identify my favorite image of Sam, it would have been the sight of him on the riding mower, wearing headphones and making his way across the back 40. Sam and I nurtured a shared realization we were truly soulmates, with a deep commitment to being there for each other. We shared the joy of good experience and helped each other with the rough times, including illnesses and death. A wide array of personal and professional challenges and opportunities. Our own illnesses brought more consequences, but Sam refused to be limited and fought a remarkable, courageous fight. I will love him forever. Love, Doris.
Thank you. Maybe someone else needs the light too. KL?
I feel like everyone knows me now. Sorry, I have to read off my phone. I tried to print and my printer was broken. I want to go slightly off script and say, one, maybe everyone knows me by now. My name's KL. I'm Sam's biological daughter. He donated to my parents, who are my moms. Sorry. But Judith, it was kind of eye-opening when you said that Sam did the itinerary for your Africa trip in a spreadsheet, because I do that. Kind of obsessively, so I did not know I inherited that, but apparently I do. My husband Dave can attest. I'm kind of an over-planner. But anyway, back on script. I'm KL, and when my moms, Robin and Michelle, decided they wanted to try and have a family, the only person they even considered to ask to help them was Sam. It was 1992, and there wasn't a lot of information on how to have a family as a gay couple. But somehow the stars aligned, and Sam and my parents made it possible for me to be here. This is very difficult. I didn't expect it. I'm sorry. My mom, Robin, found a letter that she and her partner, my other mom, Michelle, wrote to Sam while she was pregnant with me, and I thought it would be nice to read it. Dear Sam, I just wanted to thank you for the lovely dinner party Saturday night. And thank you again for helping to make this all possible for me and Michelle. I'm personally very proud that we were able to do this within our own community, and I'm very grateful for your wonderful attitude and hard work and expertise on the legal matters. Also, thank you, Judith. Our amazing success on the first try just seems to cap off a terrific arrangement. We've said before how much it means to us to know the other half of our child's gene pool is a smart, handsome, politically correct, but irreverent gay man who can cook and has a sense of humor. But as the moment approaches when she's going to be a real live person rather than just a pregnancy, its meaning grows and is a source of comfort and happiness to us. And then Michelle added, Sam, I can't top Robin's eloquence, so I'll just say a little. The enormity of this venture seems to grow each day. I'm still in awe of the task and the prospect for the future. Thank you for being you, generous you, and so much more. And for the last 31 years, it has really been lovely to be a part of Sam's life and for him to be a part of mine. And I know that's not true for a lot of people who, have a donor. And it was an honor that we could have that relationship together. A couple of stories that sort of drive home how much Sam lives in me without me even knowing it. My mom, Robin, recently told me about the time that I learned Sam was my donor. I was 5 or 6, and I was playing in the bathtub. And out of the blue, I stopped and asked, who's my donor? Robin and Michelle agreed to tell me whenever I asked. I don't know if they thought that would be at 5, but they said, oh, well, Sam is. And I said, oh, like Sam and David, Sam? And they said, yeah, that's Sam. And I said, wow, I'm so lucky. Yeah, and that remained true. It was clear from the start, for my parents at least, that Sam was a part of me. Shortly after that, I was still very little, and I would make my mom Robin and my namesake Leslie just watch as I put on dance performances. I would go behind the TV set and change into different outfits, and they would be watching hockey or something, and I'd come out and I'd put a hula hoop on the floor, and that was my spotlight, and I'd stand in it, and I'd apparently, according to my mom, said, "This is my dream come true dance," and I would perform for them. And then I would insist that they clap for me afterwards and stop watching the hockey game. And then I would go back behind the TV and do it all over again. And Leslie turned to my mom, Robin, and said, "Sam's jeans kicked your butt, buddy." Which I think is extremely true if you know anything about Robin. When it became clear that I was serious about becoming a ballet dancer, which I did professionally, Sam let us know that his mother was also a ballet dancer, which was a surprise to all of us, and then not a surprise. It was clear that it came from somewhere, and it was from Sam. Sam and I stayed bonded for, my whole life over our mutual love of dance, theater, and art, as well as David. They would send me playbills and reviews of the performances they saw, along with Sam's notes on what he thought about the performance, and recommendations for what I should see.
Paris.
Yeah. We went to Paris. They took me to Paris for my first time and second time and possibly third time. And one particular night, they had me pack a evening dress and didn't tell me what it was for. And we went to a very nice restaurant, and then we went to see the Paris Opera Ballet at the Paris Opera House in a private box seat, which was, yeah,
The King's Box.
the King's Box, right dead center. And that was like the most magical thing in the world for 12-year-old KL, who desperately wanted to be on that stage one day. So in these 31 years, I had, wonderful trips with Sam and David to Paris, and my mom, Michelle. I brought my now husband, Dave, who's here, to visit them in West Palm Beach, which was especially nice. I grew up loving going to see Sam and David and Una, who I saw, there's a picture of me just like strangling her coming in the slideshow. I loved going to visit them at the studio in Frenchtown and their farmhouse in Bucks County. It's probably somewhere.
We're gonna run it.
Yeah.
It'll show up.
Yeah. Hearing everyone talk, it reminded me of when I think I was still pretty young and you guys decided to add a children's section to the studio, which was a big hit with me. I loved that, so if that was for me, thank you. And although he wasn't my parent in reality, he was my dad, and I'll miss him very much. Thanks.
Dennis, you're on. Sam's cousin Laura lives in Vicenza, Italy, and she could not take any more time off. She's retiring in June. So Dennis is going to read Laura's.
I'm Laura.
This is Laura.
And the only reason I'm Laura is that I've been to Vicenza. So Laura wrote this. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Laura Hollis, Sam's second or some level of removed cousin that only Sam or David or the DAR could ever explain to me. But none of that really counts because first and foremost is the connection two people find in life, a connection that they hold sacred. I felt that with Sam. I saw it between Sam and his beloved David. Sam was like a brother and dearest of friends. Unfortunately, distance keeps me from being here today. However, I'm here in spirit to memorialize Sam, a man with whom we all have a common bond in love. As my mother, Tom Ann Thigpen Smith, yes, that is her real name, would often say, I must be really smart because Sam likes me. And she meant it. Her admiration for his intellect, quick wit, curiosity, knowledge, and achievements was always present in our home and obviously passed on to me. My memories of Sam begin at our Thigpen family reunions. As a troubled adolescent, he always made an effort to relate to me, even when I was surly and unreachable. Years passed, I evolved and understood what a gift I had in Sam. I discovered the most amazing friend one could imagine. He advised me in so many aspects of life, giving financial advice, helping me through family crises, and the list goes on. He did it with love and true concern for my well-being. He was always fair and honest. He didn't always tell me what I wanted to hear, but be assured it was what I needed to hear. Sam became the brother I never had. I am so fortunate to have had Sam Phillips in my life. Sam, I know you are listening and can understand me, so I want to express my last words today in a language you always encouraged me to improve, Italian. Samuele, sei un migliore amico, un consigliere, un fratello e una persona straordinaria. Ti terrò stretto al mio cuore finché non ci incontreremo di nuovo. Ti voglio tanto bene per sempre, Laura. Translation. Sam, you're a best friend, a counselor, a brother, and an extraordinary person. I will hold you close to my heart until we meet again. I want you very well. Forever, Laura. And I'd just like to say, as Dennis, since I've known David about 50 years, it was my pleasure to be reconnected with him many years after we'd lost contact and to meet Sam. And he was an extraordinary person, so full of life. He brought out the best in both of them. He had an extreme love of adventure and living, and he was irreverent, smart, and really adorable. We'll miss him.
Introduce yourself.
Oh, you can do it.
Well,
It's up to you.
well,
I'll do it.
you're here.
Introduce myself. I don't have any prepared remarks, and I hope I don't sound too disjointed. But first of all, I know the last couple of years, Sam and I lived in West Palm together, and then I moved to a little south. I didn't see him enough. I thought he had a ready bunny, and he was going to last forever, but he didn't. So I just wanted to, say I should have seen him more because he was such a wonderful person. And I want to thank David I know Sam was devastated when Joseph died, and then he met David, and his life began again. And I saw down here how much David comforted him, helped him, took him to various travels that he probably wouldn't have done on his own. So I want to thank David for that also. I met Sam. I may have known him longer than anybody else in here. We met in graduate school, probably, I guess it was 74. Eventually, we moved into the same house together. Sam got this big house that he had, well, yeah, I guess he had 4 people in there eventually when I got there. And it was such a wonderful house. And David and Sam arranged classical recitals there. It made it such a wonderful place. The funny story I have is that Sam made me get rid of my dog in order to move into the house. So, he wasn't the biggest dog lover. And she was a good-sized dog. So eventually, the people I gave her to couldn't take care of the dog. And I had visited a couple times, she only listened to me. So I took her back. And I said, well, Sam's just gonna have to accept this. So I bring her into the house. Sam is preparing a dinner for, I think it was his girlfriend's parents at the time, his girlfriend. And Tanya, the dog, proceeds to eat part of the ham. Which, of course, Sam never let me forget about. So we lived in that house for a couple years together. I moved to Washington. I'm trying to remember if Sam was already there, or if he was in Tallahassee, then Washington. We always ended up in the same place. And Sam and I had we get together, we have the greatest conversations. Then he moved to New York, and I think then I moved to New York. I think it's the way it was. What? Across the hall from him in the same, well, he got me the apartment in this, and I lived on the east side, and he got me this apartment on the west side, and we lived right across the hall from each other. So he couldn't live closer. And then Sam, moved down to West Palm Beach at some point, and then I partially retired, and I moved down to West Palm Beach also. So we kept ending up at the same places. So Sam was the most, I could say it, and aside from the person that had the highest integrity, anybody I knew, he probably was the most intellectual, other than perhaps my father, who was a college professor, but they came pretty close. I want to thank David also for giving me the opportunity. I'd seen Sam a couple weeks before he passed away. He seemed to be getting better. He had a sense of humor, and then things didn't go well. And David gave me the opportunity to say goodbye to Sam, which was difficult, and I don't know if I used the words goodbye. But I just want to say, David, thank you, and again. And one of the things I forgot to tell Sam was he lived life to the fullest. And not many people can say that. Thank you.
Jerry O'Neill? Yes, I'm here. Okay, I see you. Is Ellen Fowler back here? Ellen? I didn't see her. I think she didn't make it.
I met David before I met Sam. But by the time our conversation ended, I knew more about Sam than I knew about David. Because all he wanted to talk about was Sam. And I walked away knowing one thing about David was that he loved and respected Sam with all his heart. And I knew that I would love Sam when I met him, and I did. And I loved him from the minute I met him. Now, these have been wonderful, touching stories about him. You knew him through his many, many years. I only knew him in his later years. And what I loved about Sam was his energy, his presence. From the minute I met him, being near him, I felt this great sense of peace. Because there was a light in him, a light that totally accepted you. It said, you're accepted, you're appreciated. And I think he was that way his whole life, from what you've said. It was very, very special. And I felt very privileged that I got to see Sam for sure at least once a week for quite a long time, because we started a little meditation group. There were 4 of us, and 2 of the others are here tonight, Paul and Joe. And we met once a week. We say for meditation. It was meant to be for meditation. But in all honesty, it was 1/3 gossip, 1/3 group therapy, and 1/3 meditation. But it was during that time that we created a very special bond between all of us. And I'm so grateful, as I know you all are, for this incredible evening, an opportunity that you have given us, David, to share our love and our memories of Sam. Thank you so much. I found a poem that when I read the words, I hear Sam's voice. And I hope that you will hear his voice as well when I read these words. If I should ever leave you, whom I love, to go along the silent way, grieve not, nor speak of me with tears, but laugh and talk of me as if I were beside you there. I'd come if I could but find a way. But would not tears and grief be barriers? And when you hear a song or see a bird I loved, please do not let the thought of me be sad. For I am loving you just as I always have. You were so good to me. There are so many things I wanted still to do. So many things to say to you. Remember that I did not fear. It was just leaving you that was so hard to face. We cannot see beyond, but this I know. I loved you so. 'Twas heaven here with you.
Sam, I know you're listening. I know you can see us, and I just want to say, here's to Sam. Thank you all.